customizers, welcome to the next adventure at Talking Hands Customs. To all my subscribers, thank you very much, and if you're joining us for the first time, go watch part 1. Who starts at part 2? Like, nobody does that. It's not even a thing. So go back. Go back. Push the back button up there and go back. Anyway, we have the Super Cat in progress here, and in our last episode I showed you how to attach Lego tiles in a artistic way to resemble modern explosive reactive armor. So now we've gotten to the paint phase. All the construction is complete. I also showed you how to make some fuel brackets because we're putting on some fuel tanks on the back, and we made a flamethrower. Let's not forget about the flamethrower. Whoosh! So now we're into the disassembly phase, and I don't remember if I showed you how to take apart a mobat before, so I'm going to show you now. There's 6 screw holes, 2, 4, and 6. One of those two, maybe 8, whatever. Anyways, there's screw holes in the bottom. Square head for the most part, unless they were replaced sometime in the life of the vehicle. So you gotta unscrew those. You gotta make sure you get a nice deep screwdriver with a very small square to get these ones in here because they're deep seated. And then the whole top comes off as one piece. And then you can remove the back plate, which is gonna get painted red to match the original cat. There's the motor. This one is seized up like anybody's business. But if you've never seen it before, there it is. And right now this would be the cupola pointing that way, which means, it would be pointing that way, which means that only one track is spinning, and then if you get it back into the middle, technically, both tracks should spin. I'm sure this could be refurbished, but I'm not too worried about it right now. The other thing I went and did is I made a battery cover. And it's non-functional, so before we get too excited, that's going to come maybe later because I'm working on that idea right now. I've never done it before myself, so but right now we have a vestigial or visual battery cover, and that sits in there quite nicely like that. Not hard to make, so let's go over it real quick before we carry on. All I did was measure this open gap here, the square top, not the angled part up front, but just the square, the relatively square top. And I cut that out of a piece of styrene yay thick. I then measured the front bit here, cut it out of styrene, and then I sanded this block to put an angle on it. And then I glued the other piece of styrene onto it like that, cut some reinforcement pieces inside, and all I did was take a strip, lay this on it, trace out this inner shape onto the strip, cut it out, and then slam it in there. And then these strips here are actually 4 strips of styrene. One measured all the way there, then the other one was placed here, drew the angle on it for a good cut it, and then filled in the joint as I needed to. And then to get this front angular bit here, all I did was measure 3 millimeters back from the top of this strip and cut it flush with the forward edge. And there you have it. So a little bit of putty and some sanding, and we have a perfectly seatable battery cover. It doesn't have all the little notches and stuff, and I could make the tabs to make it functional, but in this case all I'm going to do for now is lightly tack this piece in about 4 odd corners, and I'm going to sit it on there because I would have to go, like, to make this functional, I'd have to go refurbish the engine and stuff. I don't even know how to do that. So for right now I'm going to lightly tack it in place so that it gets painted as part of the custom, and then future me will go, hey, we know how to fix this stuff now, I'll come back and then I'll redo it. But in the meantime, it certainly looks the business, if I can get it out of my spray booth here, and works rather nicely if I do say so myself. So that's all there is to it. It's a simple construct. Okay, all you want to do is make a square, make a strip there to make that angled part, okay? Sand and glue them together, and then reinforce it how you want on the inside, or you could even skip this part. The other alternative is if that might be, maybe just not something you feel like doing. I also tried doing it just by heat warping the same size of styrene. So I measured out the whole gap, put it in, and that also works. So you get actually a curved bottom, and that works as well, okay? So you have 2 options there. All right, now getting back into the business. I haven't taken this apart yet, so we're gonna find out right here, right now, whether or not this can be taken apart as much as I want to. So with the rubber tracks, they're rubber, and they're old, so don't reef on them, just gently stretch. And you want to lift them off the front or back. They're technically called drive sprockets and all that kind of stuff, but they're the ones with the pokey holes in them. So you want to lift it off those pokey holes to loosen the track, and it'll come right off afterwards. Try that again on this side. So just a little pull and a wiggle. Little pull and a wiggle. I'm probably being overly cautious, but we don't want to have to worry about repairing rubber too, which you can, but why bother, right? So now those are the tracks. They're nice and clean. I might give them another cleaning because this is the first time I've disassembled them. Yeah, there's a little bit of brown in there. So I'm going to clean these. I haven't yet done a custom mobat where I've needed to change the color of this, so that's a future me problem. So we're good there. Now comes the piece de resistance. This is the make or break what the heck's going to happen next. So the front comes right off as one bar. Now these caps here don't freely come off. And I've honestly in the front roller case, I just mask off the bar here and then I just paint everything else in place. And you could even paint these end caps first, then shove these out, mask it off, and then paint these wheels, whatever you like. But either way, there's gonna be some masking required for that. And we actually have to take off the back one as well, which is also fun. So we'll get in there. And this whole motor assembly has to come out. So there's one screw. And the second one is down in there. See if I can get some light into it or not. A little bit, anyways. Tip of the screwdriver there, there's another screw. So just take my word for it. Oh, you're loose, but you're still hanging on. Here we go. Come on, come on. All right. So by all accounts, yeah, that'll come right on out like that. Now it's still attached. So we actually have one more part to take out. Who am I kidding? We have to take out the switch inside here. All these screws are the same size. So you don't have to, oh, correction. These ones are a little bit shorter. A little bit of mix match of screws in here. I couldn't remember from the last time I did this, so. You want to separate your screws from where they go. If you want to put them in a Ziploc bag or on a piece of tape, then write on the piece of tape. That's a good way to do it. I like forcing myself to remember because it's a challenge. And then that's the switch out. Come on, come on. A little bit of wiggle in there. And then the leads themselves are just attached on with these slide-on retaining clips. So there's the guts of the mobat out. And unfortunately, I remember, yeah, the last time I did this, I pried off this top and it really did a number on it. So I might try and pry this off, but this is probably just gonna be a case of masking and spraying that. So now we're down to the leads. This stuff here doesn't have to come out. There's no need. And now we got to pull these wheels off. Now, this will go one of two ways before I do this, just to build up anticipation. They'll either come off or they won't. It's fragile plastic, relatively speaking. It just slides right over top. Each one of these is a peg. This hubcap here is a peg that the wheel goes onto. So I'm going to try and pull some of these off and see what happens. One tank I did, they came off no problem. The other tank, I was pulling on there so hard I thought I was going to break the hull, so I just stopped and I painted them in place, which is more labor. However, I mean, we're doing this because we want to, right? So I got to do this off camera, but I'm going to grunt out loud so you can hear. Oh, there we go. Sweet cheeks. Okay. And the key to doing this is stable, constant pressure. Don't reef on it. There's one that's not coming yet. Don't reef on it because you don't want to break it. There we go. There's another one. Oh, there we go. So far we're doing okay. -1, so I'm going to come back to that one. Yeah, see, I don't want to... Oh, there we go. Smash. Well, we'll do it on camera. Why not? Let's make some noise. Launch a missile. Do some damage. Oh, dear. Where have I gone? Where have I gone? Where have I been? Anyway. that one would be, oh, of course you're gonna be like that, aren't you? Come on, who does number 2 work for? There we go. Ooh, that almost sounded like the unsatisfying snap of failure, but we are fine. I just have to re-swallow my heart there. There we go. There we go. Come on. Oh. Okay, well, I'm going to have a conniption trying to get these off. So I'm going to get the rest of them off camera. I've only got 5 left, and then we'll carry on. All right, I got most of them off. These ones are being the dickens, so I'm going to try some other tools, maybe some little bit of hot water or something like that to soften the plastic. Either way, it's not going to get done on camera, but I'll try something else. If not, then what I'm going to have to do, unfortunately, is paint these, prime these white, then paint them red, then mask them off. And that means I got to get my brush down in there and get the whole thing done, which is going to add time, but not too much. And then I have to mask this off when they're done and then spray everything else black. But this isn't the part we're really focusing on. It's doing this because I'm having too much fun on this project. So there's got to be a hiccup, and this is going to be it, at least the first one. So let's talk about the upper hull. So when you disassemble the mobat, the upper hull comes off as one piece because there's a whole sway bracket mechanism here for working the internal parts of the motorized function. So get a screwdriver in there, same screwdriver, same screws. And I'm holding this very gingerly because while we have glued the tiles on, they're not exactly indestructible. So be prepared for a tile or two to come off during handling, and that's fine. There's the one bracket. Whoop. And there's the second bracket. Whoa. Stop it. Behave. There we go. Alright, so there's that bracket. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was like, how's that sticking in there? There's actually one right in the middle here. And I've got my finger on the cupola up here. Chupacabra, whatever. To steady it, because this wants to turn it. And then we're gonna undo that screw, and that should be the final retaining screw, which has to come all the way out. And there we go. Just a quick check. Yeah, this retaining screw's a little bit longer, so I'm going to put that off to the side. And then off comes the green thing. Then the, oh, look at this. There's toe jam in here. That's lovely. Well, we'll get rid of that. Oh yeah, look. Ugh. Could be, well, I don't know what it is, but we'll wash it anyway. And then the hull separates quite nicely from the turret. And of course we want that cupola to come out. I'm going to clean that off just out of, you know, based on principle, I'm going to clean that. And then we can look at the bottom of the turret. So it's got some glue bits here from manufacturer. These are like glue holes riveted, so I've never pulled this apart. I've never found the need to, even if I've made, like for the Sky Mobat, if you remember, if you haven't seen that episode yet or that series, shame on you. But my design was that the top was chrome, so I just painted this black and then masked it off, and you couldn't really tell anyway. And it made sense because why would Hasbro chrome something you wouldn't see anyway, right? Right. So. In this case, yeah, I'm not going to try and pull this one apart either because there's no need to, because it's all getting painted black. But there it is, and I might just clean this up a bit, but there you have the turret separated. Unfortunately, that means because you can't separate the turret, this gun is stuck in here. So what we have to do is the same thing with those wheels that are stuck on the chassis, in that we're going to prime this white, or we have to paint one and then the other, regardless of which one you do. I always try and bash around which one makes more sense, and I think they're kind of similarly a pain in the butt, but I think I might do the black first, and then I can mask off on this nice flat surface here, and then work the cannon bits, because I'll have to mask all of this off, because I have to get into all these little cracks and stuff to get paint in there. So There we go. So the other thing, I mean, you can kind of see it here, but the main concern with this paint build is actually an extension of just a straight repaint of the mobat. And that is, with any mobat, you have all of these greeblies on here, right? These molded in tools and boxes and hoses and stuff. And you want to make sure you get paint into all of it, because I promise you that if you think you've got it all painted and then you finish and then you can see green still, it's like, oh man, and then you got to get paint in there and recoat it and all that kind of stuff. So in this case, what we've done by putting these tiles on here is actually created ourselves a bunch of mini paint traps. And it's not to go, oh, why would we do that to ourselves? It's to simply say, be aware of the fact that you want to get paint in all of those nooks and crannies. So the airbrush, if you're hand brushing this, no problem. It's just going to take you a little bit longer, but you got your brush in there and you just make sure you tack on each side. If you're spray canning this, this is when you spray some paint into a cup, dip your brush in it, blah, 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 and then you're brush painting it as well. Same thing with the airbrush. It might do a slightly better job of getting in there, just because you can have less pressure to throw the paint in there. But I am fully prepared to have to use a paintbrush to finish this off, if not preemptively paint the color in there. So that's all there is to it. And this whole bad boy is going to be one color black. So let's begin. And here we are with our painted, clear-coated, and reassembled Super Cat. Colors I used Vallejo Primer Black for the hull and the turret, then covered with an acrylic semi-gloss black. Use a company of your choice because this one is discontinued. The point being is I wanted to have a colder black, and we've talked about warm versus cool tones. For the red, I used two colors that are actually the same thing. Vallejo Model Air's red RLM23, let's get that in focus, from shooting it out of the airbrush, and then for the inevitable touch-ups and repair work, I use Citadel Colors Evil Sun's Scarlet. What do I mean by repair work? Well, when painting the road wheels, I got paint inside the road wheels. When I put them back on their posts, the post pushed out the paint that was inside the road wheels, so I had to take a knife and carve all that away with some tweezers as well. Repaint any damage done on the red parts and the black parts. I'm sure I'll find some next week too. And there it is. Reinstalling the tracks too. A couple of the teeth here had paint removed from them because I was harder on the road wheels than I was on the track. We talked about not ripping the tracks or anything like that. So that's just some detail work done with a brush. No problem. You've seen that before. I've shown it to you in previous episodes. And let's remove our really cool looking fuel tanks here. Let's take a look at that battery cover that we constructed. Because there it is, doing its business, while also getting damaged. Welcome to the world of customizing. I can't look at something sometimes without it getting a paint chip in it. If you have followed along with this project, take heart in the fact that I've popped off 3 or 4 of these Lego tiles, and I don't even want to look at these fuel brackets ever again. They've gotten caught on things, they have popped off. The good news is they just glue right back on, so it's fine. Is it worth it? Oh yeah, because this looks cool. So speaking of that, remember how we had all these black Lego tiles on a green tank? Well, now that it's been unified by the same color, I mean, look at that. Isn't that cool? That is so cool. I knew it was going to be cool. And, well, there we go. A couple of paint traps, too. Aside from the inside of the road wheels there, because you saw the nooks and crannies in there, is here in a place called the mantlet. It's where the cannon meets the turret of a tank. Be cautious and mindful about when you're putting paint there, because you want to get the right color of paint on the cannon and the right color of paint inside the turret, because you can see it from certain angles. It will be a struggle. It will be a struggle. And maybe on my next mobat, I'll see if I can put some extra effort into not being so worried about breaking it, and then I'll show you how I took it apart if I was successful. So, speaking of dings, let's carefully put this on its side, and you can see I scratched paint off right there. So let's repair that real time, because I almost don't want to tell you how many takes I've done to get to this point. I'm just kidding. Welcome to it, right? No, it's all part of it. Bump the camera, chip the paint. You know, it's part of the process, and you gotta respect the process. There we go. You know what? I think there's even a little bit of marring. Yep, there it is. So I used super glue to affix the battery cover in just a couple of places. And unfortunately what it did, and this can happen, you know, I want to sound like an expert and say it happens only at these specific times, but honestly, the way I look at it with my luck is that it happens at the worst possible time. I.e., you have a nice gloss black surface, and then it decides to get marred. And it was clear coated and everything too, but whatever, it is what it is. So just, again, you know, stuff goes wrong with my stuff all the time. Stuff's going to go wrong with yours. So just be patient. In fact, talking to you right now, I just found a couple of other mistakes. So this is going to happen, right? It's all part of the process, and it's nothing to be, I mean, please don't get angry at it. Like, don't. I used to get angry at this kind of stuff, and it's not worth it, right? Because it's supposed to be fun. Just kind of laugh at it and go, oh yeah, there's that. Oh yeah, this is probably going to happen. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that. See what happens when you look at something from another angle? You get new perspective. And this will happen too. Like, I'm not going to try and blow sunshine up your butt saying that, oh yeah, I never make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. That painting montage you just saw, that was about 2 weeks worth of work, and as you can see here, there's still mistakes and errors to be fixed. Does it bother me? No. Should it bother you? No. So, Now I know that some of you can't unsee what I'm looking at. I'm going to fix it. And if you haven't seen it yet, now you're probably trying to find it. Not to worry, because it won't be there much longer. There we go. Like that. There we go. Oh yeah. It's like it's trying to do it on purpose. And the name of the game with fine touch-ups is steady the hand first before the brush goes onto the vehicle. As much as you can. Right? Some of us have shaky hands, whatever. We talked about bracing and stuff for fine detail painting. There. And I'll just hit that with some clear coat on the tip of a brush when it's ready to go. There it is, labor of love, right? So, speaking of fuel cans, let's get those back on there because it looks cool. As we've talked about before, customs look super cool when they're painted, but they don't come alive until they get stickers on them. So let's get to it. All right, we got the stickers on. This project is complete. Let's talk about it. I added white stickers from various sources onto the ERA tiles and various other places throughout the tank to give us our 3 colors and therefore our color balance. I bent that rule a little bit with these absolutely gorgeous Crimson Guard emblems because they're chrome. But most of the time they reflect the light so bright that it looks white, so we're good to go there. I liked it so much, I swapped out 2 of my individual tiles for a larger tile so I could put one of those Crimson Guard emblems up front here as well. We built a battery cover for underneath, so that way we no longer have that gaping hole in our customs. We built a flamethrower up front to give us something new. Lego tiles on a G.I. Joe tank to make it look like explosive reactive armor. And then we tied that whole Soviet look together with some scratch-built fuel brackets and fuel drums added on the back. And that's all there is to it. If you followed along step by step, I hope yours turned out just as well, if not better than mine did. If you're thinking about trying this project, by all means, just keep in mind that when you're gluing on these tiles, it does make things a little fragile, so be wary when you're handling it and just be cool. We'll just say be cool, because like I said, a few of these popped off throughout this process, but it was worth it because now I have a Super Cat in my collection and I couldn't be more happy. Speaking of that, because it is the Crimson Assault Tank, now it's ready to go on the shelf. To all my subscribers, I want to say thank you very much. If you're joining us for the first time, there's loads of videos to check out on the channel, and there's always new adventures coming up at Talking Hands Custom. So in the meantime, be safe and have fun.